In a world where almost everything can be recorded, some scenes manage to go beyond the ordinary and simply leave us open-mouthed. Thanks to cameras spread everywhere, from cell phones to security systems, impressive moments end up being eternalized, revealing unexpected, unbelievable, and many times unique happenings. That is exactly what we are going to see here today. Unusual video, made by a security camera, shows what would be a thief trying to rob an ATM in London, England. In the camera images, the hooded man approaches a public ATM still in broad daylight and delivers a kick to the machine. In an unusual way, the ATM seems to lose control and glitch out, starting to spit out several banknotes of pounds that fall to the ground, while the thief tries to grab everything. At that very moment, a man, apparently some kind of authority, notices the scene and approaches to deter the thief, who runs away. The footage began to gain traction, and according to some information, apparently it is a staged or advertising scene, not a real theft. The behavior portrayed, with money flying too much and being spat out even before the kick, raises strong suspicion of computer-generated imagery. A man was literally seen jumping the fence, and the moment he does this ended up going viral on the internet. The video, made by a neighbor who noticed the situation, shows the man first next to a woman in the yard of her house, kissing her, when suddenly he says goodbye to her, jumps the fence, and goes to the house next door, where he finds another woman who would be his official girlfriend to stay with her. The fence jump, done brazenly, went viral on the internet, not only because of the young man's boldness, but also because he is clumsy, since, when using a ladder to jump the fence, he breaks it and falls. A woman calmly entered the store's beverage section and unexpectedly began pulling bottles from the shelves and throwing them on the floor, destroying about 500 units of wine, beer, and gin. Images recorded by witnesses show the aisle completely covered with broken glass and spilled drinks. Amid the commotion, the woman reportedly even threw a bottle of gin at a customer, which intensified the tension in the place. Employees and security tried to restrain her, but the presence of the police was necessary. She ended up suffering cuts on her hands and was taken to a hospital. The damage caused to the supermarket was considered high, and the case generated great repercussion on British social networks and, later, around the entire world. Impressive images taken by tourists on the African savanna showed a behavior that many imagine they will not witness, but that ends up being more common than it seems. In the footage, we see what would be a still very young lion on the branch of a tree, while some furious elephants approach him. Seeing those enormous animals getting closer, the lion, terrified, jumps from the tree and decides to flee running across the savanna, taking advantage of his slight edge of being a bit more agile. Many people were impressed by the scene after all. They are not used to seeing a lion going through any difficulty whatsoever. However, when it comes to furious elephants and a still young lion, the scene can be exactly what we see. A man was seen cutting a giant stone with the help of an axe in a completely dangerous situation. In the footage, he appears delivering blows to the immense rock, which gradually breaks and, after long and arduous strikes, it splits, falling precisely in the spot where the man was standing. Fortunately, he had left there seconds before part of the stone fell, and by very little it did not crush him. Obviously, it is very important to highlight the lack of safety equipment, in addition to the risk the man ran by staying in the place where he was. After all, the stone could have fallen earlier than expected and hit him. A completely bizarre scene was recorded inside a Walmart when a man painted and wrapped in plastic showed up at the place in a frenzy. Scaring the supermarket's customers, he appears screaming, jumping, and with a completely strange look. Upon witnessing that, some customers began filming, and the scene of the man behaving that way started to go viral, first locally there in the United States and soon after, globally.
Put it on the floor. Oh my God! Look behind the press, don't make me press. No! Oh my God!
Unofficial information says that the man would be having an episode under the influence of intoxicants, that he drank alcoholic beverages, and that it would also not be the first time he had done that at the place. The security camera of a warehouse recorded an impressive incident that happened right in front of the place. In the footage, we see two people in front of the warehouse when a car, which was coming along a road that passed in front of the place, loses control and heads toward the people. By great luck, there was a step right in the vehicle's path, and upon hitting the step, it jumps, changes direction, and does not hit the people by very little. As we see in the footage, the car jumps, swerves, and almost hits the people, who are desperate and for sure feel relieved to count on luck. A motorcyclist escaped a serious accident literally by seconds, and the images of the exact moment went viral. The footage was made by the camera attached to a vehicle that was passing through the area, which was an intersection. We then see the exact moment when two vehicles collide at the intersection, and at that same instant, a motorcycle at high speed passes through the place and, in an impressive way, manages to go right through the middle of the collision, in the only possible space in which it could cross without being hit. It is even strange to say, but in this case, the motorcycle's high speed ended up saving the motorcyclist's life. After all, it was exactly because of that he managed to pass in time not to be hit and not to get involved in this accident, which could have been fatal for him. A scene that began to go viral on the internet showed the difficulty that many people face in public transportation on a daily basis, in this case on the subway. The scene shows the subway being literally invaded by people and overcrowded, to the point that a lady who was trying to get into the transport gets squeezed near the door and needs to count on the help of people who were outside to push her, and thus the subway door manages to close with her inside. The footage, showing the difficulty faced even by an elderly lady, moved many people and impressed because of the hardship that those dependent on these public transports routinely face. A woman jumps bungee, and her scream of despair, wanting to end that tension right away, echoes and goes viral on the internet. The video shows her getting ready to jump, looking very tense. She then approaches the edge and leaps with the shout of, "Go already!" making the scene tense and funny because of her reaction. The place used for the jump is very high, and of course, that creates extra tension. Many people were impressed with the height of the cliff. After all, it takes a certain amount of time to reach the end of the elastic, and for the woman to reach the end of the fall. There are several competitions in Japan in which children use the Japanese abacus and also the mental calculation modality called Anzan, in which they visualize the abacus in the mind to do calculations quickly. For example, in an annual tournament in Kyoto, competitors of various ages perform tests of complex sums, and we see youngsters managing to add mentally 15 numbers of 3 digits in about 1.64 seconds after practicing a lot. The technique requires intense training from early on, until internalizing the abacus movements in a mental way, visualizing it as if it were in the hands. The footage shows the youngsters using the mind completely, closing their eyes and even bending over to manage to visualize the abacus mentally and perform the calculation while a narrator speaks the numbers. In one of those attractions at the fair in which you must hit cans, either by kicking or by throwing a ball to win a prize, a woman showed that she was having a very lucky day. The video, made by a friend, shows her positioned to throw the balls when, upon launching, she hits part of the cans and, surprisingly, the ball bounces and returns to the same spot, knocking down the rest of the ones that had stayed upright, and in this way, she wins the challenge on the very first throw. The expression of the woman who owns the game stall draws a lot of attention. After all, she is not at all pleased. We know that dogs end up not having a good relationship with motorcycles and consequently with motorcyclists, and this recorded video ends up being living proof of that. The video, made by a motorcyclist, shows him at a gas station, stopped, while some dogs seem to wait for him to leave in order to start barking and lunging. All of this becomes clear when he threatens to accelerate and the dogs bark, but he just has to stop for the animals to do the same, showing that, yes, the problem is with the motorcycle. According to information, for many dogs, their house, the yard, or the sidewalk in front of the place where they live is territory. When something noisy, strange, or with fast movement enters this territory, the dog may feel it is being invaded or threatened and, therefore, reacts by defending it. Don't forget to subscribe so you can watch more videos like this.